So I'm glad this topic came up today, and listen, I have asked you for direct feedback, so you can't get totally mad at me. But of course, another SmackDown is in the books, and it was 3 hours. And I know some people actually went the other way and thought this one felt more like a better 3-hour show. But for me personally, I'm just going to look you dead in the eye and tell you, for me, I just think it's a little bit too long. Now, really, it's not a bad thing or a good thing, but the reason, like I say, I am happy that it did get brought up is because some people say, Simon, you can't say things like that. You're meant to be a positive guy. That's not what positivity in wrestling is. Positivity in wrestling is understanding some things you're going to like and some things you're not going to be like. Always be honest with the audience, especially. You must be transparent, but don't have a meltdown about it because it's just professional wrestling. And always make sure you see it from both sides, because I bet there are some people out there that are over the moon that SmackDown is now 180 minutes, and I genuinely mean this from the bottom of my tootsie toes. I'm happy for you, man, and in that sense, long may it continue. I just know by the time we got to the main event, I just had that old Raw feeling that I used to have when you're like, oh man. And also, SmackDown is suffering from how good SmackDown used to be, because in terms of 2-hour wrestling shows, and I do think 2 hours is the perfect mark to try and hit with sports entertainment, 9 times out of 10 you would get absolute bangers, and my brain just fell in love with that basically. So now I miss it a little bit. Now it will be May or June or wherever we're going back to 2 hours, and it will just feel like that time flew, because that always happens. It'll probably be the build to SummerSlam. It'll be like, oh my gosh, another year is almost done. But I certainly did feel it over last night's show, to the point there was nothing that stood out massively. When I sat down to make the video, I was like, well, actually, the thing I want to talk about the most is the running time. I never think that is absolutely ideal. You want to be talking about the content itself. And this is also because WWE has Saturday Night's Main Event later. Please make sure you check out my predictions that are on the channel right now. And then they have the Royal Rumble. So you can't give too much for this episode of SmackDown, because you go to next week and go, oh man, we don't have anything left. We did everything. Now, I did ask you to vote in a poll earlier over on my social media at simonmiller316. I have it up here. It's got over 1,500 votes, which is pretty cool, because I only put it on a couple of hours ago. And I essentially said, no harm, no foul. Please be as honest as you can be. But do you think SmackDown is too long, or do you think it's the perfect length? And at the moment, no, it's a perfect length. Only has 34.7% of the vote. And yes, it's too long, has 65.3% of the vote. Now, again, with these things, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. It's only people that are following me. Again, it's like 1,500 people, millions of people are watching WWE content right now. But I did sort of want to ensure that I got your opinion in there, because you don't need me yelling at you all the time. It get a bit boring. And for example, as I do read some of the comments, Jim said, I like it. It gives me more time to invest in more characters, and I appreciate the stories they are trying to tell. I want to make it very clear. Longer matches, more time for performers absolutely makes me a happy man in my tum-tum, which is a very strange sentence to say. But let's take somebody like Chelsea Green and take somebody like Andrade, which again stood out to me on this show. I enjoyed the tag team match. I'm glad that B-Fab is getting her time to shine, because I think she has way more potential and we just haven't had time to show it yet. But I wanted Chelsea Green in these 3-hour moments to get more promo time, because I think she gets enough of that. And when The Miz, who was now transferred to SmackDown, bumped into Andrade, it reminded me, where's Andrade been? Why did he vanish? And then there's a Shinsuke Nakamura issue too. I love the fact they've changed his character. I thought that video was super cool, but given that he is the US champion, I kind of want that title to be presented in the same way the IC belt is. That was just another bit of a negative for me as well. Again, all minor things, but all things that did stand out for me. So I guess if it was 2 hours, we wouldn't have got any of those, and that would suck. But with those extra 60 minutes, I just think there's a few people that we can spotlight a little bit more, and it's just a tiny bit of a shame that we don't. Same with Rody Codes, which I'm sure is the real person that says 3 hours of TV time makes perfect sense for the WWE main roster product. Lots of promo, backstage segment time, enough for a good couple of mid-card matches, space for a proper main event, and given how much talent SmackDown has, who doesn't want an extra hour? Well, I do. Again, I don't need all the bag of sweets in the world. I don't need all the candy. Sometimes I just want enough so I'm filled, but I want that feeling where I'm like, man, I want to have some more. If you give me too much, I'm overfull. Mike Ryan said, needs more wrestling and fewer recap skits. Use some of the talent they have deeper in the roster. I think that is a good point. Again, we just mentioned a few. Give them more time. And Stack FPL, he wasn't mucking around at all. He said, it's too long. I like it. The show feels like a B show right now. I wouldn't say that. I just think it's in a state of flux. I get that it actually is when you do compare it to Raw, but if that's a 10, then SmackDown is a 6. They're sleepwalking into the Rumble at this stage. I mean, maybe a little bit hyperbolic, but I appreciate your passion. Troy Too Slick also says, when the matches don't really have any long-term implications or match emotion behind them, then it tends to drag on. When there were a lot of story-driven matches a number of weeks ago, the 3-hour episode was fantastic, so it's all situational. And I think that's a really good thing to throw out there, because we should be balanced. And I know I've kind of tapped into the YouTube nature with this video, so please do forgive me. But some weeks it's going to be bad, and some weeks it's not going to be as bad. But I will just double down on the fact that, again, I mean, you mentioned that there were a couple of 3-hour SmackDowns that were good before we started doing them every single week, but most 2-hour SmackDowns I just thought were excellent. At the moment, clearly I haven't got it out of my brain. But again, who main evented this show? Kevin Owens versus Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso needs to start getting some wins because he's an awesome talent, and again, there's more potential we can do there too. And Kevin Owens just goes up my GOAT list every single day. He's absolutely one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and you could probably argue this is one of his best runs in years, and he just hits every single thing out the park. And if he did win at the Royal Rumble, this bald idiot would be happy. Tapboy Grim says, I enjoy the 3 hours. The wait between episodes from week to week feels like forever, so a nice chunky episode helps satisfy my insatiable hunger for meat slapping. That's an interesting sentence. I do believe the run times could be used more effectively in terms of screen time for the other stars. Just my opinion, and I appreciate that. So I guess it really depends how you consume wrestling as well. That's a topic that, including myself, we don't talk about enough. It depends how much wrestling you want to watch. If you are just going to be a WWE guy, nothing wrong with that, more power to you. You have to pick your own entertainment hours. 6 hours is probably going to feel quite palatable, especially because Raw is probably like 2.5 at the moment. But if you just want to consume professional wrestling, so maybe you're watching some AEW, maybe you want to get into TNA because they're on an upswing at the moment, maybe you want to watch some New Japan, so you take in all of the world, well, then you are talking about probably double digits for the entire week, and you have 6 hours of WWE, and that is going to be a lot. And this is why I sometimes forget that we do talk about ratings and numbers, and we don't actually focus on the internet side enough, the social media side. There are people out there who are more than aware of WWE and AEW, but they're just happy to watch clips, and they're just happy to watch stupid shows like mine, and they're just happy to exist in the ether, so when you do get into the nitty-gritty, it doesn't actually even matter at all. C-Mask is quite well balanced too, because he said, I started off thinking it'd be a good idea, but the last 2 to 3 weeks have just felt long. I do like that more talent are being featured though, and I would say, my man, that I am probably in the same boat as you. The opportunity is certainly there, because again, there was that sort of good old, 6 months before WrestleMania, where Raw especially was really, really good television, and maybe they just have overloaded the pudding a little bit at the moment, because again, they do have all these pay-per-views and PLEs that they need to think about. When you get out of the Royal Rumble, there's quite a stretch to the Elimination Chamber, then there's an even bigger stretch to WrestleMania, so maybe we'll can see it then. And again, we made sure we finished this week's episode of SmackDown with Cody and Kevin going at it, no problem with that. I really like that feud. I can't see Kevin Owens winning at the Rumble, but I would not mind it at all. And even the opening Cody Rhodes promo, now again, this would never have happened on a 2-hour show, but he is a mega over, super happy, good guy babyface that we haven't had in years. I talked about this other day, so please forgive me for repeating myself, but Roman Reigns wasn't that because he was divisive. John Cena wasn't that because he got booed and cheered. Steve Austin and The Rock had this sort of magic where they had edge and attitude, so they weren't like happy goody 2 shows, I'm going to kiss babies and come to your party and celebrate with you. And that goes all the way back to Hulk Hogan, was the last guy that we had this. Now again, he's a controversial guy. If you want my opinion, I'm happy that he's off Saturday Night's Main Event, but we don't want to get into this because I know you don't tune in for that kind of stuff. So if you do have that in your arsenal and you can just send him out there and everybody is going to be super happy to see him, and he can just cut a very good guy promo and say, oh, you think I'm a nice guy, but Kevin Owens, I am going to whoop your butt, then you absolutely should use the light. So I didn't mind that at all. And I would actually say what sums up my SmackDown opinions at the moment from an in-ring segment point of view was everything we did with the women, because every single person came out there. Tiffany Stratton was out there, then Rhea Ripley was out there for the surprise, then Nia Jax, then Candice LeRae, then Bianca Belair, then Naomi, then Liv Morgan, then Raquel Rodriguez. It was so fun. It was so silly. It was so dumb. Really enjoyed the magical tag team match that came from nowhere, especially because Liv Morgan got a win. She certainly needed that. But them all just going, oh, I'm in the Royal Rumble, I'm in the Royal Rumble, I'm in the Royal Rumble, I'm in the Royal Rumble. It's like, have we just taken weeks of TV? Like harmonica'd it into one little quick segment? Especially, I say this on Ups and Downs for SmackDown on What Culture Wrestling. Please do subscribe to me and then go and watch that video too. I'm so mad at Candice LeRae. Maybe Candice LeRae watches this. She definitely doesn't. I really like Candice LeRae. 1, she comes across like a good person, which is the most important thing in the world. 2, she's a very underutilized and very underrated wrestler. And she thinks she's better as a babyface than a heel, but I do enjoy her relationship with Nia Jax. Why didn't she declare for the Royal Rumble? All everyone has been doing, especially in this 10-minute segment, was talking into a microphone. I have it. If I was on WWE TV as it was pulled out the socket and I went, I declare for the Royal Rumble, nobody could tell me no, because that would break the wrestling law that we have introduced, and Candice just stood there. Now, maybe Nia Jax has got her thumb over her, like, you better not do it. It's for me. it sent me into a meltdown because I'm a very strange individual. So that's the kind of emotions I went through. Having a good time, absolutely ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. Again, way too squished together. We should have stretched this out. And then we had a really good tag team match. I think what's most important is that fans are into the characters. And when the fans are into the characters, the degree that they are, like Rhea Ripley came out, everyone's like, oh my gosh, as they should do. She's a super duper whooper star. It does make it very pleasant to watch. And also, I mentioned Kevin Owens. He had an impromptu promo in the middle of the show, and he went toe to toe with Matthew McConaughey. And if you haven't watched it, I'm not making this up. I mean, Oscar winner Matthew McConaughey. That's when Jimmy Uso interrupted him. We did get that main event. Perfectly fine main event. I had a good time. And of course, we've also teased that Jimmy Uso and Carmella Hayes are going to have a feud. I don't know why I like that so much. I just do. And I like the fact that The Miz is on SmackDown. And I love the fact that Damian Priest is on SmackDown. I would build the whole show around him. Hopefully Drew McIntyre will be over there soon, because I think they're the type of characters that could really notch it up to another grade. And his match with Carmella Hayes was great too. Carmelo is losing a lot at the moment, but again, he's too talented. You give him a few weeks, a few months, even an extra year, and he's going to fly. He'll be an IC or a US champion before you know it. And Damian Priest is the walking embodiment of that. His 2024 is so good, even though he just walked into a backstage skit with Nick Aldis. I was like, oh my God, it's Damian Priest. He's made the big old jump, so he should be on a collision course to win a championship. And we did have that little bit of a tease with Cody Rhodes as well. We also put Grayson Waller, Austin Theory on Raw. Don't think that's a problem. It is what it is. We're just shuffling the deck a little bit. And I do like all the tag team stuff on SmackDown. I think we have done a good job. Not the women's one. I'm so disappointed with the women's tag team titles. We did such a good job last year, and now we've forgotten about them. But DIY, good tag team champions. The Pretty Deadly Motor City Machine Guns match was good. We're now doing 2 out of 3 falls at the Royal Rumble between the Guns and DIY. Could steal the show, I tell you. That would be absolutely brilliant. But I don't know what we do after that fact. Now, there are seeds that have been planted here, because we have Legado del Fantasma 2. Obviously, just got rid of A-Town Down Under. But if we could throw another team in there, that could be the Street Profits when they came back, and just allow more people to talk and kind of work the stories a bit more. Once again, I'm going to use that word. There's the potential there. So I'm a big fan of that. And we've already mentioned the stuff with Chelsea Green. The tag match was good. And, you know, having Michin pin Chelsea Green after the Eat defeat reestablishes that finisher, which has been worthless for a long time. And I believe it's next week on SmackDown, or maybe it's the Royal Rumble. I think it's SmackDown. We're doing Michin versus Chelsea Green for the US title. Chelsea Green should win. We did tease the Piper Niven thing again, because they had fallen out backstage. But I would do Chelsea Green versus B-Fab and let them promo off just on one show. I think they'll be really good. And then we'll be quite deep into the year, and then I think we should do the Piper Niven thing. The more I think about it, Piper Niven versus Chelsea Green in a well-thought-out breakup story is probably going to be really good for the show of shows. I know WWE overdoes it, as do all wrestling companies, to be fair. There's way too much, you're my friend, you're not my friend anymore. But I don't know who would be heel and who would be face. I think Chelsea would try and be the bad guy, but you are running the gambit there. But I just think they could get real deep, like, with this. I think it could be really interesting, and I think it could surprise a lot of people, and that excites me too. So that was essentially SmackDown. I'm sure I probably missed a segment because I am a massive idiot. I mean, Matthew McConaughey just blew my brain. It was the last thing I was expecting. Oh, of course, the LA Knight stuff. Yeah, while the Shinsuke Nakamura stuff is kind of persona non grata, LA Knight beats Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu gets involved, kills LA Knight, just kills him when Braun Strowman comes out, as we do tease him and Jacob Fatu at Saturday Night's Main Event. So excited about it. So that's when you do have to give WWE their due. They didn't do much here. All they've really done is look at each other, but because they both have aura and because of the way they have been booked, you just want to see it. Jacob Fatu should win. If you want to do a Goldberg Brock Lesnar here and have Jacob Fatu win in 2 minutes, I don't think it affects Braun, because I think Braun is in the legacy part of his career where we all appreciate what he's done. And he's always going to be a massive dude, so it's not going to be an issue. But yeah, Jacob Fatu, man, he did his Godzilla King Kong line, which I've heard before, but he should say it all the time and make it a tagline. He's so damn good. I'm very excited about that. And really, while I'm intrigued to see what we do with the contract addendum signing, which is the dumbest name ever, this could be, that and the Sheamus versus Braun Breaker thing could be really good. Imagine they go back to back. I'll be the happiest man ever. So there you go. That's just my opinion on SmackDown at the moment. And as I always tell you, there's 52 weeks of wrestling TV a year. I'm blessed to watch absolutely everything, so I am going to see it from a very specific point of view, but you can't like everything. Doesn't matter if you're me, you, Brad, Steve, Lily, Joanne. Some things are absolutely going to be what you want to see from wrestling, and some things aren't. At the moment, I just think a 2-hour SmackDown would be better. But like I said, if you're into it, hell yeah. WWE should carry on. If you don't know, we are going to be stopping it probably May or June is the rumor. And also, let's not forget, we've teased Bianca Belair versus versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Give me that, because that would rule. And we had the Charlotte Flair video too, where she said, I'm going to be in the Raw Rumble. So again, in the next 10 days, if you are in a wrestling ring, you must make sure you say this into an audible device and you will be in the Rumble. I thought the Charlotte Flair video was very good. I hope she comes back as a mega heel. And I know people have already got mad at me, but you can get mad at me again. I think she should probably win the Royalist of Rumbles. Now, of course, my friends, thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below, and click the video on the screen, I should say, which is me talking about the Royalist of Rumbles, so you can get involved there. Otherwise, there's a bunch of social media you can follow me at. If you're into fitness, please do go to grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off. And there's buy one, get one 50% off until the end of the week on pre-workout. Best pre-workout in the game. I'm on Cameo at Simon Miller, ProWrestlingTees.com. Simon Miller, you can get your stupid warm and fuzzy in my t-shirt. Switch some of those words around and you'll understand what I'm trying to say. But I appreciate your time. Make sure you have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon.